What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about a particular response to the situation that has been unfolding between Jeannie and Jeezy regarding their divorce. And for those of you who aren't familiar, basically the situation is Jeannie is being accused of gatekeeping Jeezy's access to their daughter. And most recently, Jeannie also requested that Jeezy put reasonable safety measures in place, such as safety securing and locking away all firearms that have been unsecure in the past, quote unquote. And of course, Black social media took issue with this because it's like, hey, Jeannie she trying to get a brother caught up. And before I get into my commentary, I just want to say a few things. One, this seems to be another swirling gone wrong story starring Black man and a preference. And I know somebody's going to come through and be all, this could happen to anybody. This could happen if you dating inside the community or outside of the community. Black women do it too. And my response to that is, yes, this can happen, whether inside of the community or outside of the community. It can. But I do feel like Black women are less likely to do it versus non-Black women. Also, these women are being propped up and positioned as being, the better choice. Because wasn't Jeannie put on a pedestal by like Kevin Samuels and his following, while simultaneously bashing Lonnie Love for some reason? I don't know why. But then again, I think they were just comparing her to Jeannie and bashing her for no reason in particular, just because they felt like, oh, she's a Black woman and we can use her to negatively represent Black women because she's overweight. Also, Jeannie went on record saying that she's going to be submissive in this marriage, not like her last marriage. And also, this marriage, sidebar here, but this marriage crashed and burned real quick. Like, this relationship crashed and burned real quick because they already got to go to counseling this early in their marriage, and it didn't help. It looks like Jeezy should have chosen better. The brothers got to start choosing better. And there's also some talk from the Passport Bros, like that group, basically saying bump Western women, bump modern women. But based on where many of these dudes are going, they're still technically getting Western women and modern women. Like, for example, Colombia, Brazil, La República Dominicana. Newsflash, dummy. They're in the Western Hemisphere as well. And by the way, those countries aren't just going to let you act a fool in their country. So be careful with that. Be careful because you might get caught up in a foreign legal system. And them foreign legal systems, if you think America bad, you better do your research on these foreign legal systems because they don't play. And in regards to modern women, well, again, modern women are everywhere because this is 2023, about to be 2024. So, there are modern women, in the Philippines and Thailand as well. And, to make it clear, I don't really come after the Passport Bros like that. Not that there's not valid things to critique and criticize and to condemn in some cases. But at the end of the day, they have a right to do them and go where they want to go and date who they want to date. My main grievance with that situation is just stop being delusional. And also, is it like necessary to constantly get on a mountaintop and yell at the top of your lungs that you got your passport and you're leaving America and never coming back and only dating foreign women? All right, that's cool. Bon voyage. I don't think the sisters are really going to be missing anything, especially anything that they never had in the first place. Because another thing that, the passport bros sometimes try to do is like, oh, everything gonna fall apart when we leave. Well, is it? Because when I think of what's really holding up the black community, the passport bros does not come to mind. I'm just being real with that. I'm not even being shady. And as well, I'm pretty sure that those women in the countries that the passport bros are going to still want money as a part of this romantic situation that they're in, or that they could potentially be in. And I think that the passport bros know that, but either, they're willing to pay the price of admission, or either they feel like the price of admission is less than the United States, or either it's worth it, or just is like more worth it versus dealing with American women, especially American black women. But all in all, passport bros, just do you a bit more quietly. Now, let me concentrate and talk about what I really want to talk about in this video. Let me get back on topic. So, a news anchor and journalist local to Illinois, particularly Chicago, Illinois, chimed in on the situation with Jeannie and Jeezy. And she had some things to say. And I just want to talk about the things that she had to say. But I want you to notice something. Some black women always seemingly are very frequently want to jump into black man's drama for some reason. Like they can't seem to stay away from it for some reason. But let's get into this. So Victoria Williams said it's beyond being bitter. Whoa. Uh-oh. A non-preference calling a preference bitter. Uh-oh. Normally, wouldn't Victoria be considered jealous and bitter herself and angry that no one chose her? But the thing is, the situation's different, so they're going to let this slide because it's on behalf of black man. Because normally, if she came out, and just said, a preference was bitter, they're going to jump and shame that type of behavior because you can't be coming after the black man's preferences like that. But my response to that is that Jeannie, she may have a right to be bitter. After all, she was blindsided by a divorce and now has to be a divorced mother instead of a married mother. As well, she doesn't owe Jeezy civility, at least at this point regarding the court case. However, regarding co-parenting, I hope that they can both be civil for the sake of their child. And Victoria continues, she's using her proximity to whiteness to keep the upper hand. Well, duh, of course. So, what's your point? This is a courtroom battle. She's using any and everything she has to her advantage. Why, for what reason would she purposely give up having the upper hand? You think a non-black Asian preference is going to play fair with a black man? And I remind you, a preference who referred to black men as quote unquote dark meat on the side. You think she's going to play fair with her food? You think she's going to play fair with her fetish? Like these Asian women don't play fair with white men or even their own men. So what makes you think she's going to play fair with black men? Especially when the love is gone. Because when the love is gone, all bets are off. And by the way, no one told Jeezy to be a gangster rapper and own firearms. He did that because that's a part of the culture he grew up in, and because it's considered cool and attractive to, some women, at least in the culture with where he got it from. And by the way, some of these dudes turn around and blame black women for the state of the black community, as if black women are out there thugging, robbing, stealing, killing, unaliving, committing R, committing SA, committing DV. Black man, you got to take some responsibility. And also regarding Jeannie Mai using her proximity to whiteness to her advantage, well, she used her proximity to whiteness to snag Jeezy in the first place. So why would she stop now? And as well, Jeezy was attracted to Jeannie Mai in part because of her proximity to whiteness, or at least to non-blackness, because her phenotype didn't remind him of the struggle that he spoke about with Nia Long, like, say, a woman with Victoria Williams' phenotype. Although he is now at this point coming back to that phenotype, for the moment at least. He's coming back to women who have that phenotype, aka black women. And, many black women are falling for it. Many black women fell for Jeezy's pandering with Nia Long, hook, line, and sinker. Jeezy is being welcomed home with open arms from black women. And, Jeezy and black men like Jeezy, they know who to come back to. They know who to run to when they need help. Because notice, Victoria Williams' Asian female counterpart is not posting anything like this on behalf of Jeezy. They may post something on behalf of Jeannie Mai, and even that is a big maybe. Because I think, at least on some level, they don't even want to be seen as being associated with, someone who would date Jeezy, even by, 6 degrees of separation associated. Now, once everything blows over, Jeannie Mai might get some shine from Asian folks then, maybe. But right now, not so much. But if, Asian people, especially Asian women, are coming out to defend, they're going to be coming out to defend Jeannie Mai. One, because, she's a woman, but two, more importantly, because she's Asian. And I know some black men have come through and be all like, well, that's just women sticking together. That's just, they doing that because they women. And it's like, well, they're doing that because they're Asian women. You got to get specific, like you're specific with the preferences you have. And that's not being shady. That's just calling it like it is. Let's continue. So Victoria goes on to say, you know how black men are treated in this court system and country. And she put no in capital letters. So she wants to emphasize that Jeannie Mai, she knows how black men are treated in this court system and country. Here's the thing, though. That's not Jeannie Mai's concern. At least not anymore. And black men, especially Jeezy, knows how black men are treated in the court system and in this country as well. Yet, they continuously put themselves in situations that funnel them into the court system and into the legal system and into the prison industrial complex that people love to go on about. Well, some people. And my response and advice regarding that is, don't save him. You don't want to be saved. Don't save him. You don't want to be saved. Let a felon be a felon. And let the court system and legal system deal with him. And also, I'm very tired, very, very, very tired of this perpetual black man victim narrative that is constantly pushed. in the black community by both black men and black women. I'm tired of it. And as well, even in like the mainstream media, oftentimes black men are portrayed as like victims. And I know somebody's going to come through, especially a black man, and be all like, well, these things are true. Black men aren't playing victim. Black men are victims. And the thing is, when it comes to the mainstream media, I think that the mainstream media is very comfortable with portraying black men as victims, because a victim isn't really a threat. And also because stories involving black men being victims, at least of like, racism and police brutality and things like that, they become really popular. But notice that stories involving black women being victims, they don't get as popular though. Notice that. And that's because they don't want to portray black women as being victims, because that can conflict with the narrative that they want to push with white women being, helpless victims. So I think that it's time for black men to change the narrative and to go from victim to victor. And that is something that needs to be led by black men. Of course, black women can support if they so choose to, of course, but black women should be playing a supporting role, not a leading role. But let's move on to the next part. And the next part is, Victoria says, and now you want to share your concerns, quote unquote, about guns publicly now that you aren't together? Yes, of course. Why not? And I know some people, including even myself, are going to be like, and have been like, well, those firearms were there unsecure while you were in the relationship and marriage with Jeezy. What changed? Right? Of course. But the thing is, what changed is the dynamics of their relationship. That changed. And because of that, she is no longer giving him the benefit of the doubt when it comes to those things. And also, she's no longer in the house. So she can't say whether it's cool or it's not cool, because she doesn't know for sure. So she wants to put it on paper, put it in writing, put it in the contract or whatever, that, hey, these firearms are going to be secure. Again, Jeannie Mai, and I'm not really trying to cape for Jeannie Mai. I'm just, trying to be fair and balanced, But Jeannie Mai, she doesn't owe Jeezy civility, at least regarding this court case. And I think that, black men and even the black community get it twisted and feel like they can treat the preferences how they treat black women. And the thing is, the preferences, they ain't going for that. And the big reason for that is that they ain't really a part of the black community like that. Yeah, they'll party with you. They'll smoke up with you. They'll eat some good food with you. They'll have intercourse with you. They may even have a relationship and marry you and have the kids with you. But at the end of the day, they have their own community and they are loyal to their own community and also just to their own wants and needs. And of course, like, they can get away with this type of stuff with black women more so because black women are a part of the black community, and thus, you got to make sure that you can come home. You want to be able to come home, just like Jeannie Mai wants to be able to come home to her community. So, while she did date out and marry out and have her kids outside the community still, she is not going to really do anything to completely alienate herself from her own community. Just like, black women don't want to do anything to alienate themselves from their community. So I think in part that's why black women do tend to not go so hard on black men in some situations, because they know if they do, then they have to deal with the whole backlash from the entire community. But non-black women, they don't have to deal with that because they aren't tied to the black community like that. And honestly, I feel like if black women weren't tied to black men, black women would have been shot to the moon as far as being like successful in the mainstream. Not to say that there's not black women who aren't successful in the mainstream and things like that, but saying Basically the problems that black women experience, I would say at least half of them could be removed if you take black men out of the equation. So, regarding Jeannie Mai sharing her concerns about firearm safety publicly, she can do that. Just like Jeezy had an interview with Nia Long publicly, or a conversation with Nia Long publicly, which I think Jeannie Mai is trying to use as having Jeezy having an emotional affair, which is part of the contract, or prenup contract that they sign, and trying to use that as the way to get more money. Preferences do not play fair. But to be fair, that was a part of the contract. And back to Victoria's post. So she ends by saying that she's dangerous. Jeannie Mai, she's dangerous. So Jeannie Mai is dangerous because she wants her daughter to be in a safe environment and is going through the court system to establish it. Mind you, so far, Jeezy is not facing any sort of charges for having firearms because of Jeannie Mai's confession. You got to remember, though, that Jeezy has promoted a culture of drugs, firearms, and violence to the black community for years. Now, that is dangerous. But the thing is, that is so normalized. Notice it's so normalized. It's like, well, yeah, so, you don't got to listen to the music. If they calling you a show, it must apply. If it don't apply, let it fly. People have a right to express themselves artistically the way they please. And by the way, I meant to have mentioned this earlier, but I didn't think to mention this. Victoria Williams, she posted this comment under the Shade Room's story about this situation with Jeannie Mai and Jeezy. But that is the end of my commentary. Please let me know what you think about this situation in the comment section below. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.